I made a simple video back in 2024, talking about every level in the original Donkey Kong Country. From there, I thought I would simply rank the levels in DKC 2, 3, Returns, and Tropical Freeze, and that would be that. But then those videos took the f*** off, and now I guess I have this monkey on my back. And by monkey, I mean 500-pound gorilla. I decided I may as well talk about the other games in the franchise I was familiar with. Donkey Kong on the Game Boy, 64, the cartoon, Jungle Beat. Not the land games. I'm sorry to anyone still hoping I'll talk about those games, but I just don't have the energy to. Now, apparently there had been rumblings that Nintendo had been working on a Donkey Kong game for a while now. But I hadn't really bothered to listen to those rumors, and I figured, yeah, of course they were still working on a Donkey Kong game. DK is a popular franchise, and Nintendo still obviously has love for the character. I figured it'd just be some weird Switch title with motion controls, or maybe another Country Returns. I mean, what, is the Odyssey team gonna be making one or something? We didn't get any DLC for Odyssey, so... Oh no! Yeah, right as I was doing my retrospective on the cartoon, this happened, at which point I realized I had to lock the in. Because I was getting popular off my DK content, and now Nintendo was putting this out in a couple months. And so, I abandoned all my other video ideas and focused solely on Donkey Kong rankings. And now, with it being past the release date, I can finally make a video on Donkey Kong Bananza. I said this in my Tropical Freeze video, but to repeat, this is not a ranking or anything. Lord knows I need to sit down with this game way longer to get my full feelings down on that. This is just a review of the game as it is now. But before I truly begin, we should address spoilers. If you want my full spoiler-free thoughts on this game, here it is. This game is incredible. It's amazing. It's great. I love it. It plays well. It has a great mission structure, great level design. I really like it. I don't think it's as good as Mario Odyssey, but that's not much of a criticism. Look, I don't know why you'd be on the fence with this thing at this point in time. If you like 3D platformers, if you like Donkey Kong Country, if you just want something for your Nintendo Switch 2 that isn't Mario Kart, then yes, you should get this game. The only reason I'm going to assume you don't have this game yet is because you can't afford it, which in that case...
That's rough, buddy.
So yes, those are my spoiler-free thoughts on this game. Everything after this point is going to be discussing everything. The plot, the characters, the levels, the story beats, everything. Well, okay, not the post-game, but still. I will be going over this game in great detail, and so spoilers will in fact abound greatly. If you don't want to be spoiled on this game, then get out of this video right now. This is your last warning, okay? For everyone else, let's journey to the center of the Earth. Our game begins with a mysterious island called Ingot Isle, wherein a familiar character has ventured to find out more about some mysterious golden bananas. It's here we're introduced to this game's primary mechanic, terrain destruction. Donkey Kong Bananza is unlike Mario Odyssey in several key ways, and this is one. While Mario was fast and agile, DK is big and powerful. His moveset thus showcases this, and it's time we talk a bit about the controls. This game has a really complicated setup compared to Mario Odyssey. Not to say Mario didn't have a lot of moves in Odyssey, but DK's setup is uniquely complicated. You press the A button to jump, and the other face buttons, they direct the way you punch. B punches down, Y punches forward, and X punches up. You can change these controls in the options menu, thankfully, because I know the B button is the jump button for a lot of people, but I didn't bother, because honestly, I saw the vision. Like, B is the lowest button on the facepad, so yeah, press down to punch down. It makes sense in its own quirky way. But then you get to turf surfing, and this is where the game starts to trip me up. You press the ZR button to grab the terrain and the ZL button to ride that terrain like a surfboard. It's a pretty cool mechanic and pretty useful, but I always forget how to dismount this thing. I wind up pressing ZR again, which just throws it. You need to hit R, which normally is your hand slap maneuver to dismount. I don't know why that tripped me up so much, but it did. This isn't to say the controls in this game are bad or anything, they're not, but compared to Mario Odyssey, where I just intuitively could maneuver Mario in any direction I wanted and immediately picked up on cap throwing, it does feel a bit more convoluted, at least to me it does. But DK does have some more mobility options than Mario does. He can climb up walls for one thing, no Zelda-style stamina bar either. As long as the surface isn't wet or greasy, you can climb it. Yeah, DK's not much of a Hamon user, sadly, he needs to try in Italy, I guess.
And before you ask, yes! This is a JoJo reference!
It does give the game a much better understanding of its focus, though. It's not about ascending so much as it is descending. And I think that really is a cool approach for a platformer. So DK begins to collect some bananas at Ingot Isle, and oh hey, they used the only two good things from DK64. That and the rap. Great! I don't like DK64, and I will in fact die a hater, thank you. Anyway, things are looking up for DK's stomach, but then... we're introduced momentarily to Voidco, the main antagonist of this game. They crash land their giant ship into the Ingot Isle and cause a massive cave-in. DK goes exploring, and it's here he finds... Oddrock, our new companion for this game. At first they're afraid of us, but after saving their life from a bunch of rock enemies, they suddenly like us. Plus they can apparently get rid of these strange purple tape through... singing? I don't know why Donkey Kong doesn't get rid of them himself, the guy can sing. Anyway, let's not beat around the bush too much. After we get the record for a giant ape elder, he promises to show us the power of Bonanza. We're transported to a magical rave dimension, and it's here the Oddrock turns out to be... yeah, that was leaked a bit after the initial reveal of this game. But it's kind of weird, honestly. We hardly spent any time with Oddrock before the revelation. I seriously thought this was going to be like a mid-game reveal or something, but no. First level we go after the tutorial, and the first Bonanza we learn causes Oddrock to become Pauline. I don't get it. I actually kind of like Oddrock's design, and if you're just going to reveal who they are early on in the game, why even bother hiding them to begin with? It'd be like if in Star Wars, after Luke meets Obi-Wan, he's like, oh yeah, your dad's the asshole who works for the Emperor and betrayed us. Like, way to completely blow what could have been a cool reveal. Anyway, that aside, I guess I should address the deal with Pauline's age. See, this game has her mention her grandmother on more than one occasion. She talks about her, and I was seriously like, wait, is Pauline's grandma this Pauline? Holy hell, talk about a gilf. But then articles are coming out talking about how, oh no, this game is in fact a prequel to Odyssey. When Pauline in that game mentions being kidnapped by an ape, she meant when VoidCon kidnapped her. And like, okay, first of all, Mario's nowhere in this game, so how does he know anything about that? And again, Cranky talks about being a rival to Mario, so like, Nah, it just doesn't line up. But there I go trying to make sense of Nintendo continuity, which is obviously ridiculous. Oh well, I'm just gonna assume that this is Pauline's granddaughter and Pauline herself has just aged really well. So we get our first Bonanza, and from there we move out to sea.
Yeah, no, but
Yes, we know, Pauline.
나는 그 허스레요 킨도 홀드 데르기안 그노시 호 보이도 바두 베도 허게아투 베기아시 저르닷 오 키지도
These are our three main antagonists of the game. I'll talk about each one of them as they become more relevant, but for now, just think of these guys as like the Brutals. They're your mini-bosses you fight throughout the game. Their goal is simple: reach the planet core to find the legendary Banandium Root, an artifact of incredible power set to grant the wishes of whoever holds it. Man, that sounds crazy. You'd think someone would have gone after that thing already. Voidco apparently wants Pauline for some ambiguous reason, and so it's up to DK and Pauline to try and reach the Bananium Root before Voidco. You'll be traversing different levels, foiling Voidco's plans, and maybe helping Pauline get some self-confidence in her performing. We already got one Bonanza power-up, so I figure I should talk about all the other ones in this game. Basically, throughout this game, you'll be encountering different animal societies that live underground. Each of these societies has an elder, and by having Pauline sing, DK can transform into a hybrid of these animals with the Bananium energy. Think of it like the transformation barrels from Country 2, only you can just do them whenever you want. You don't need a barrel to use them. I do like how a lot of the Bonanzas are also references to the animal buddies from the Country games. Like the ostriches are clearly based off Espresso, because you can hover and glide when you're one. And the elephants are based off Ellie, because they can suck up things with their trunk and spit them out just like Ellie from Country 3 could. And the snake Bonanza is based off Radley because you can bounce high with him. But the odd one out is the zebra, and I legit have to wonder if the initial plan was to have there be a rhino civilization and have DK turn into a rhino. Because the zebra power set matches Ramby's very well, but that might have been changed because Ramby is like the one animal buddy that still gets used, so they felt obligated to have a section where you ride him. I don't know. One problem I have with the Bonanza mechanic is that I don't think the game is that balanced around it. It is ridiculously easy to charge your Bonanza energy to full in this game. Like, collect a couple hundred gold nuggets, not hard I assure you, and you're basically charged all the way again. And they last so long, and if you end one prematurely, it just gives you the energy you didn't spend back. I counted maybe one time in this game where I had to stop and go out and grind a bit for some Bonanza energy, and it took me like a minute tops. And I understand why. The game requires you to use them to bypass some obstacles, and it wants you to always have the option to transform, but it means that Bonanza is always an option, and 9 out of 10 times it trivializes some encounters. I don't really know how I'd balance it personally, because honestly it being too easy to use and too powerful is probably better than it being too difficult to get and feeling worthless, but like, the only reason I didn't use Bonanza is because I didn't want DK to be some weird ostrich hybrid, and I didn't want to hear the music again for the umpteenth time. You know, compared with enemy capture from Odyssey, which, yes, was a lot more contextual, but also allowed for a lot more variety. I don't know, maybe I'm just nitpicking, but like, I don't think Bonanza really offered me as much fun as that one mechanic from Odyssey did. Even if they did do different things, ultimately. One thing that kind of disappointed me was the NPCs in this game, mostly because of how the game is structured. See, every animal-based NPC has an elder, and that elder grants you a Bonanza, and the game has 5 transformations, so you really only have 5 groups of NPCs you can talk to. Everyone else is fractones, these crystal guys with eyes on their head. They're everywhere in this game and basically serve as the NPCs in locations where there's no animal guys. Which honestly is a shame, because after Mario Odyssey, I was really hoping to see a bunch of fun new NPCs, but no. We got monkeys, we got zebras, we got ostriches, we got elephants, and we got snakes, and that's it. Everything else is just these guys. I'll admit, I did like them at first because of them just being rocks with eyeballs. It kind of reminded me of Rare, which, you know, Rare made Donkey Kong Country, so it fit. But then we get to locations where apparently giraffe and lion NPCs lived, and they just aren't around anymore, and I was kind of bummed. Like, I don't need an elder and a Bonanza for every civilization down here. I'd be fine with just hanging out with some giraffe and lion guys. Speaking of rare... The racing minigame with Diddy and Dixie is really cool, but also kind of weird. Diddy and Dixie themselves are just hanging out, not doing much. Like, Donkey's out here trying to stop these evil Kongs and get the planet core, but Diddy and Dixie are just racing, I guess. I don't know, it's like... I understand why Luigi isn't always out with Mario, but here it just feels weird. I hope Nintendo does something with Diddy and Dixie next time. Maybe this game will get a DLC? I don't know, one can dream, I guess. Next, let's talk about the fossils. This game's version of the purple coins. Fossils are basically traded at stands for your outfits. Honestly, the outfits in this game are a bit disappointing. They don't look bad or anything, but like, you only get pants and a tie for DK, and Pauline's outfits are nice, but there's way less than in Mario Odyssey, so that was honestly kind of a bummer. What wasn't a bummer were the fossils themselves, however. They start out being what you expect, you know, leaves, trilobites, ammonites. And then suddenly, you get a preserved bug, and hey, wait a second, that's a Zinger! A Zinger from Donkey Kong Country 1! And then you get Naughties, and Professor Chops? Why? He's from Returns. That game just got a re-release, and oh my god, Winky? Winky, my boy, what happened to you? The descriptions are all cute little nods to Donkey Kong Country as well. Like, take the swordfish one. In water, one has to stay on their guard around this fish's notably sharp nose. On land, it would struggle and flop around. See, on their guard because his name is Engard. People keep telling me I pronounce that name wrong, and frankly, I don't care. We even got Banana Bird from Country 3, and Chaos? A chaotic robot that spoke and acted independently, created by a maverick scientist using his wife's pots and pans. Oh my lord. The levels in this game are all pretty well done. They feel like Mario Odyssey levels in a lot of ways. I really like the ice world with the zebras. It doubles as a lava world too. A lot of puzzles in this world center around using ice to harden the lava into usable terrain. The only thing I kind of disliked about it is, come on, zebras are not a cold climate animal. Why couldn't you use, I don't know, snow leopards or buffalo or something? Something to match the cold, but zebras? Really? This beach level is really relaxing. I especially like how at the end of it you need to break open this giant watermelon. It's that thing, you know, how in Japan there's this tradition of breaking open watermelon on a beach. You see it everywhere in anime. It's that, but taken to an insane degree. Not to mention it's also one of the more vertically oriented levels, with the introduction of this float material that lets you fly upward. Again, it kinda reminds you of Mario Odyssey and those octopus guys you could capture. The elephant level is probably the only level in this game I didn't really like all that much. It relies way too much on lava terrain and using your elephant Bonanza to clean it up. And it also has hazardous rain where you gotta stay out of it or use a patch of terrain as an umbrella to shield yourself. I just found it annoying, honestly. Probably the section of the game I least enjoy, to be honest. But my favorite level is the theme park level. I love the atmosphere of this one. You got all the NPCs from all the other levels coming in here and exploring the theme park, and it all ends off with a climb up a giant hamburger. You use bacon as a guide to climb it up? Oh man, that's funny. The game's difficulty curve I also found to be just right. It's in that Mario sweet spot, where at first I'm playing it and I'm just breezing through all the challenges, but as the later levels show up, things start to get interesting. This game really likes to play with the terrain and give it different properties in ways that make sense. I already talked about hardening lava with ice and water, but there's also terrain that hardens or softens based on light touching it, and some terrain is much better to turf surf on because it's hard. But then you get these harps that literally switch the terrain when you whack it, and some of the post-game challenges you get are absolutely diabolical with this mechanic. It's easy at first, but gradually more and more difficult until the later levels' more optional challenges become an actual test of spatial awareness and what the properties of the terrain do. It's really nice to see Nintendo keep with tradition here. Still being kid-friendly, but willing to challenge players who go out of their way and look for it. The level design was also really well done. You know, I was worried there were going to be moments where I'd screw myself over and I'd be in a situation where I need to, like, teleport or reset the terrain in order for me to escape, but no. The terrain destruction works surprisingly well. There was like one time later on where I clipped through a wall or something, but it just reset me back to the ground floor and didn't happen again, so yeah, I think I can overall call the terrain mechanic of this game a success. Although again, I'm not as big into it as I was just the pure platforming challenge of Mario Odyssey. It feels very experimental, you know, like this is Nintendo showing off this cool new tech they can do with geometry. Less like a refinement and building of a tried and true format, and more like them going for something weird and innovative. It still works mostly, but I'm not sure how much this concept can go forward. I could be wrong though, and they can absolutely do a ton more with this, but for now, I do think I overall like the level design and structure of Odyssey more than this game. Again, not really a criticism because Mario Odyssey is like one of the best 3D platformers of all time. It's just, in my opinion, I do think this game is in some ways a step sideways to what came before. Not a bad thing, just not exactly what I wanted, I guess is what I'm saying. Alright, I think that about covers all I have to say on the gameplay. Let's get back to the story. Last thing I want to say about Pauline is that she has this cute little story throughout the game. She starts out nervous, not really being able to perform, but as time goes on, she gets more confident, and she uses that confidence to help DK transform. And you can see her gradually getting more and more willing to sing and perform in front of crowds as you unlock more Bonanza transformations. I don't want to jump around too much, but there's also this segment near the last quarter of the game where you're separated from her, and it's legit kind of sweet and sad to see DK all worried about her. Like, aw, the two are friends. Her story is pretty basic, honestly, but you know, for what is basically a Mario game, it's cool to get that at the very least. So overall, I'd say Pauline is a nice addition to the game. On our journey, we fight the 3 Void Co-members in a couple of fights. The first one I'll talk about is Grumpy Kong. He's apparently the guy who makes a lot of your Oid enemy types, Crocoids, Buzzoids, and such. He's a dedicated worker, but after you beat him a few times, he eventually gets disillusioned with the job and he quits of his own accord. You don't really even get to see him quit either, because your last battle with him ends abruptly. He's okay, you know, I don't mind Grumpy Kong, especially post-game when he becomes an ally, but I think I gotta put him in a C tier. Not a bad character, but he's kind of lacking in potential. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Poppy Kong. Poppy Kong is basically Nintendo's answer to Rouge the Bat. Like, it's actually kind of ridiculous how similar their characters are. Like, they're both secret agents, they both have dubious morals, and they both basically work only for themselves. You beat Poppy twice and she decides, fuck this, I'm out. At which point she actually becomes an ally. I mentioned a part of the game where you're separated from Pauline, and Poppy actually helps you out there. She basically becomes an outright good guy past this point and helps you take down the president. I really like Poppy's design and character, and I'd love to see her make a return in later DK games, or hell, even a Mario spin-off. I could absolutely see her being playable in Mario Kart and being a fan favorite. She's got a really good sense of style. Of course, this is the only game she's in, so even though I really like her, yeah, I can't give her much higher than a high B tier. Now, before we get to Void Kong and his plans, there is one character I haven't mentioned yet. Cranky's been in basically every level of this game, and he's honestly one of the more disappointing aspects of it. I like Cranky and I like most of his dialogue, but it's always the same thing whenever you find him. I took Ramby down here because you ran off. It should be you down here, not me. The only thing noteworthy is this one part. See, every time a character in this game refers to someone specific, there's a little icon next to who they're talking about. Like if someone refers to DK, then his face pops up. Same for Pauline or an Elder or any Void Co member. But when Cranky talks about the Banana Thief, there is no icon, which is weird, right? Like, if he was talking about Void Kong being the Banana Thief, you would think we'd see Void Kong's face icon, right? But no, he doesn't even get that, so why? Now, as we get deeper into the layers, we also fight Void Kong himself, and he's honestly kind of a pathetic character. He's got some cool abilities, and his boss fight can be kind of tough if you don't know what to do, but he's also just this annoying little gremlin creature. I don't know. We fight him once as he goes through a bunch of layers stealing Bananium gems, and near the end of the theme park level he starts to rant about his companions leaving him, giving them the old "you're fired" treatment. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Void Kong kinda sucks. I mean, he's an okay villain, I guess, but he's got no aura, really, no presence. He's just a pissed off angry monkey with a lot of gold and influence. He feels more like a sub-boss. I can't really give him much higher than like a D tier. Oh well. The villain of this game kinda stinks. Oh well, I guess we can't win them all. Past the theme park layer, we get to the forbidden layer. It's here we encounter a very different kind of fractone. These guys have been pretty welcoming so far, but now they're telling us to go back? Huh? What's up with the attitude? It's also here where the game begins to gate itself. These huge fractones can create an energy field that basically lets you make paths of crystal by throwing terrain, but they only do it if you pay them gold. And it can get really expensive. One of these guys literally demands that you give him 9,999 gold. Now, granted, I didn't have much of a problem with this. This isn't like, the Nintendo and Rarecoin and DK64. You're not gonna get stopped here and be wondering, what the hell am I supposed to do? It's pretty obvious what you need to do, and as long as you go out your way and grab as much gold as you can, you'll be fine, trust me. This is just a last-minute check to make sure you've been playing the game the way you're supposed to, that you've actually been exploring and digging through the terrain, not just gunning for the story content. As you reach the end of the Forbidden Layer, one fractone mentioned something that made me pause. Apparently somebody came in here a long time ago looking for the Bananza root, but they never came out. That's odd. Anyway, it's here you fight Void Kong once again, and because he needs Pauline to sing to awaken the Bananza root, you can't use your transformations here. The fight actually can be pretty hectic, but if you push through, he goes down pretty easily. But oh no, he's not dead, and DK becomes odd-rocked, I guess. But it's okay, because Pauline can free him. Only this also begins to awaken the Bananza root. Hey, Bananza root, you can grant wishes, right? I wish this game had a better antagonist.
He's back. He's back!
Why did I wish for this? I could have wished for $1 million! While Manatee pulls himself together, let us look at what DK and Pauline are up to. So yeah, goddamn King K. Rool is back, and from this point on, this game becomes a mad dash of rare Donkey Kong references. The Crocoids become Kremlings, the Buzzoids become Zingers, Squealoids become Kabooms, Munchoids are Claptraps, they're all here! But wait, those bat enemies... I recognize those sound clips, they're Neckies! Oh my god, you have no idea how much I missed you guys! This last section is such a nostalgia trip. Is it cheap? Kinda. It is replacing all the new enemies and lore with, old enemies from the Super Nintendo games, but, I mean, who cares? Those enemies have never been in 3D at this render quality before. I'm just glad to see them again. So, yeah, King K. Rool came here years ago to get the Bananza root for himself, only to get stuck here and imprisoned, I guess. So that entire span of time between Jungle Climber and this, where he was absent, is basically explained away. That's incredible. I can only imagine what this must be like for him. You go down to get this magical source of near infinite power to destroy your most hated adversary, then you get imprisoned for over goddamn 10 years, and the first thing you see upon waking up... Oh, you. So obviously you go down to the real planet core this time, and it's here you see the actual Bananza root. And of course, King K. Rool is going to use his power to fight you. And what a fight it is. You need to use all your Bonanza transformations effectively here to dodge and counter his attacks. It's pretty much what I imagine a King K. Rool fight in 3D should be. Still though, he's not that challenging of a fight. Put him in his place and finally claim your reward. Pauline wishes to go back to the surface, and DK, obviously, wishes for bananas. Gotta love that one-track mind. And so the Bananza root grants them their wish, by throwing them both through the other side of the planet. And that was Donkey Kong Bananza. Man, what a cool climax. I'll admit it ended a bit prematurely for my liking, and the final boss did just kind of come out of nowhere, but, oh. Oh, you sly motherfuckers, you're doing this again? You took the fake credits gag from Country 1 and did it again? Yeah, King K. Rool is back for round 2. This time you're fighting him on a platform and waiting for the timer to count down. Sort of. Last minute you just want to smash him in the face with a bit of Banandium. But if you thought that was it, oh no. No, it's only just started, my friend. Welcome to the last stage of the game. New Donk City? From Odyssey? Yeah, apparently this is just a canon part of the setting now. And oh no, he still has the Banandium root? And oh no. See, this is what makes King K. Rool a cool villain. With Bowser, you always know what he wants. He wants to kidnap and marry Princess Peach. That's his thing. But King K. Rool, he doesn't give a f***. He'll do whatever he wants. Create a super death laser and blow up your island? Done. Make a killer robot and put the brains of his enemies in it? Done. Steal a goddamn mythic source of power from the planet itself? Done. And what does he do with this power? He spreads rot everywhere. Because at the end of the day, he just wants to hurt Donkey Kong and make him suffer. And what a better way to do that than to corrupt and destroy the one thing he loves most. His bananas. He's going to spread rot throughout the world and then eat it. Because he knows that's the one thing that would make his mortal nemesis the most upset. And he's going to start in the very city where it all started. All the way back when Cranky kidnapped the original Pauline and put this whole convoluted series of events into motion. He's going to take over New Donk City first, but Pauline and DK aren't gonna have it. So they rush up to an arena, like in DK64, and K. Rool puts on his new ultimate form. He invokes Bonanza himself by slapping his belly. Oh, that's really clever. And he becomes the God of Rot. And this fight can be a real challenge. I'll admit, I made it unnecessarily difficult for myself the first time because I forgot I could suck up the lava with the elephant Bonanza. But I think that just goes to show how well designed this fight is. You need every Bonanza form in some way. The snake to jump over his vacuum, the ostrich and the zebra to avoid his hands. Also, you can throw a chunk of terrain into his vacuum and it'll blow up, like in Donkey Kong Country 2. I forgot to do that though, but yeah, you can do that. And of course, the Kong to whack his cannonballs back at him. Oh man, there are so many cool little details in this fight that make it incredible. And so finally you deliver the finishing blow, and K. Rool's plans are once more spoiled. Ha, I get it. Now go crawling back to your wife, I guess, considering she's still canon. So, yeah, K. Rool is defeated and the Bananium root is put back into its natural place. Pauline and DK have a nice little heart-to-heart, and they say goodbye to one another. Oh, that's sweet. But of course, they're reunited in the post-game, which I won't really be getting into since I haven't played much of it yet, but yeah, that was Donkey Kong Bananza in its entirety. Not gonna lie, that ending did a lot of heavy lifting for me. As a longtime Donkey Kong Country fan, it was just really cool to see all those old enemies return in new and interesting ways. I almost just wish the game was more centered around bringing back these old enemies, but yeah, that's for a potential sequel or spin-off to do, I guess. Donkey Kong has always been in a weird position for Nintendo, because DK as a character is a creation of Shigeru Miyamoto. The arcade cabinet that would define Nintendo as a company was literally named Donkey Kong. It even got a few arcade sequels, but then Mario took center stage, becoming an icon of the 80s and early 90s. But then Miyamoto and the company had faith in the Stamper Brothers and a little-known British development studio called Rare to take the character and update them for a 90s audience. Rare took that character and gave him lore, gave him a setting, gave him his own little compact cast of characters, turning Donkey Kong from an obscure footnote in Mario's backstory into his own entity, basically. And then, of course, Rare sold itself to Microsoft. The Returns games brought their own flavor with them, and they were good games, but there was something missing there, a certain absence. And I think that absence was Rare's touch on the franchise. Rare gave Donkey Kong a cast of characters, a villain, and a fun tone that helped define him as what he was. But the Rare era couldn't last forever. Even if Rare remained a part of Nintendo, there was no guarantee that they would be working on Donkey Kong games. Rare's always been an ambitious studio looking for new and innovative things and not resting on their laurels for too long. And it's not like their own track record with the character was spotless either.
I'm going to jump!
Oh! Do a flip!
And so, once again, DK continued to languish. A child of two companies, conceptualized and created by one, but refined and expanded upon by another. One company not really sure how to tackle their estranged son. But I think the lesson to take from Bonanza, and I think what its ultimate mission statement is that Donkey Kong is a character of two worlds, but one family. Cue Phil Collins here. This game doesn't have Diddy as your sidekick. I know that angers some people, but I think it was a conscious and clever choice to use Pauline, because she represents the Nintendo side of this. The character who is as connected to Mario as DK himself, but the main villain, the real antagonist, is Rool, and he's given as much love and respect as anyone else, because he's as much a part of DK's world as Pauline is. Yes, he does show up at the end, but obviously Void Kong was not designed to be a real threatening antagonist. The game intentionally makes Void a pitiful waste of a villain because it's building to the real villain, the one who has been absent for so long. Having Pauline be right there with DK puts this game's mission statement in the forefront. Yes, Donkey Kong is a Nintendo character, but Rare did a lot for him too, and their contributions will not be forgotten. And I sincerely, truly hope that whatever they do next keeps that in mind. I don't know what the next Donkey Kong game will entail. Maybe we'll see a whole new villain, or maybe there'll be a couple new Kongs introduced. Maybe Grumpy and Poppy will get thrown to the wayside. But I sincerely hope that's not the case, because there's still so much room to grow here for the big guy. And I have faith now that his setting, his story, his cast of characters, and his lore gets the rightful attention it deserves. So in summation, Zananab is not in this game. 0 out of 10. Okay, so yeah, that is my final word on the Donkey Kong Country series. This game series is a wild ride, and I sincerely hope that if you're just coming into this game fresh, you consider looking at Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2 at the very least. You owe it to yourself to do that much, I think. Now, there is one final ranking I'm going to be doing for the Donkey Kong franchise, but that's not coming out until next year. Why next year? Again, for me to know and for you to find out. I might look at the land game sometime later as like a quick one-off video or something, but yeah, I'm sorry, I just don't find them that interesting to talk about. Anyway, now I can get back to my other videos. If you only subscribe to me for Donkey Kong stuff, I'm sorry, but that's gonna stop for a while. And I'm pretty much Konged out right now, and I will be for quite some time. But hey, if you like animated movies and other stupid crap, feel free to keep watching. I like to keep my channel varied if I can help it. I just got into a Donkey Kong mood thanks to all the shit that's been happening this year. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, I guess that's how you end these things. Bye.